after reviewing this video, I found that the video, mainly my video, was a bit like glitchy during the actual video when we recorded it, and it's just in the recording as well. So, because of that, I've decided that I've just cut the video from this, and instead I put both of our logos on screen, along with adding in a few Halloween clips in there occasionally, just to keep the video flowing properly. You still have our commentary and everything, so the video is basically going to be the same, except you don't see me and you don't see Tack Mack. With all that out of the way, though, enjoy the video. Hey everyone, welcome to Shearants Bar and Supreme. Today I am once again joined by Tack Mack to discuss the Halloween TV series, because that's the whole weird thing that's happening now for some reason. So, yeah.
Sure is.
What do you think is going to happen with that show?
Well, what could happen is many things, but what I actually personally think should happen is that it should take place immediately after the original. And literally, like, when I say after the original, I mean like maybe a couple of minutes after, because obviously at the end of that movie, Michael just disappeared and they didn't know where he went.
Yeah.
So this series would follow where he went, and we'd actually stay with Michael throughout that time period in 1978, I believe that movie came out. And we'd see him follow some new characters, kill some new people who we haven't seen since I believe they've said that this series is going to focus on characters from the original movie, but characters that weren't focused on that much. So so that means we're obviously not going to see Laurie Strode. I also imagine, because I do kind of want to see Dr. Loomis, but because they've said what they said, that it's not going to focus on people they've already focused on, I think if we do see Dr. Loomis, it will most likely be in flashback scenes. Like, if it does take place right after the original movie, then throughout, like, Michael doing whatever he's doing, they can have a flashback scene to him being a teenager or something in the mental hospital, and he's working with a slightly de-aged Dr. Loomis and all that. So I think that's how they could kind of incorporate Dr. Loomis a little bit without making him like the main character like in other films. So to what I think that they should do, that's what I think they should do. It should be set right after the original and take place in those last couple of months of 1978.
I mean, if it's taking place in the last couple of months, that means we could technically have Michael Myers around Christmas time.
Exactly.
Have like snowy Halloween, I guess.
Which is something we haven't seen yet. Michael Myers in snow, as far as I know. So yeah,
I don't think we have. That's one option that they could do, but one which I was thinking of is just doing an entire series set in the asylum, because that way you can kind of have it focus on the people around Michael other than Loomis. You haven't focused on other mental patients there who are like growing up alongside Michael there, trying to figure out like why he doesn't talk to them, why he doesn't play with them, or something like that. Then, like, I don't know, one day he just kills some of them. Some of them go missing.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the most common thing that people want when like, I believe when the series first got announced, or when there were just rumors that they might do a Halloween TV series, the first thing people said they wanted was a prequel series about Michael's time in Smith's Grove. And I've just always said, well, yeah, whilst I'd definitely be up for that, it's not a bad idea. The problem is that if it's a series about Michael in Smith's Grove, the problem is that you'd have to, like, you wouldn't have to focus on Michael 100% of the time, but he'd need to be the main focus of the series at least 60 to 70% of the time. And that's a lot of screen time for Michael. And obviously, as you just said, he obviously doesn't talk. And as far as we know, because they never mentioned it in the original movie, he didn't kill any people in his time at Smith's Grove. The only person he technically killed before the original movie was his sister.
Yeah,
So so that's another thing. If he does kill people in that series, and the creators have said that it is going to still connect to the original movie in some way, then they've got to be careful what they do so it doesn't ruin the events of that first movie or change anything that happened in that first movie. So yeah, but also I just don't want them to overuse Michael's character, because that's what's good about him. He's kind of like, he's a stalker, a bit similar to characters like Joe Goldberg from You, but not fully
yeah,
that character, just the sides of that character where he's stalking his potential victims before he kills them and everything. So yeah, that's what I want to see. Michael really going into depth, like something I sorry to kind of talk about other stuff here. I'm kind of going all over the place a little bit, but something I feel like they haven't really done as much in the new movies with Michael is actually incorporate that stalking aspect before he kills his victims. Like in 2018 and in Halloween Kills, and I'm sure you could say Halloween Ends as well, but he wasn't really in that movie.
yeah.
But he just went from house to house killing people. Like he didn't stalk specific people before he killed them. He just killed anybody. And whilst, yes, that was cool to see because it literally showed he doesn't have a reason. He just sees someone and thinks, I'm going to kill you. And that's what he does. And whilst that is scary and weird in a good way, um, I liked the stalking side of him as well, because it really showed you that he likes to know about his victims before he kills them, and that made it a bit interesting for me. But what do you think about specifically the stalking aspect of Michael?
I mean, the stalking aspect of Michael is part of his character, and I do agree with what you said. It kind of wasn't in the most recent films, but I guess you could kind of say it was in that bit where, like, the long one take where he was just walking up to that person's house, and I believe it was the babysitter's house, the one with the kids.
Well, that was, I mean, could you? Well, how was he stalking them? I mean, he walked around the side of the house, but I wouldn't say that was stalking, because he just walked around to grab the hammer, grab a weapon, and then he went in and killed her. He didn't really watch her for any time prior.
Well, not specifically her, but specifically the kid, because he was in his closet, remember? And then she didn't believe that he was in the closet. Then he came out, of course, and killed her. But
Oh, yeah, sorry, I
he was
was
in his
thinking of a
room
different
for
scene. I know which scene you're thinking of now. Um, I mean, yeah, you could say he did it a little bit with that scene, and he kind of liked to scare them a little bit because he was hiding in the closet, as you said. But then again, like, even so, still, if he did stalk that babysitter specifically, he would have maybe only stalked her for maybe an hour tops, if that, before he killed her. Whereas in the original movie, we saw him stalking Laurie and her friends for an entire day before he killed them. So
yeah,
I don't know. I kind of preferred him watching for a little bit before he killed them. That made it more creepy to me. But yeah, I do get what you're saying, though. I guess you could say he did it a tiny bit in those new movies, but nowhere near as much as he did do in the original movies. Um, so yeah, that's just something I wish they'd hopefully bring back in whatever's next. So
yeah. I mean, another aspect that they kind of do need to bring back in the TV show is just kind of not making Michael the main character. Like they kind of tried to do it in Halloween Kills, where they didn't even focus properly on Laurie in that movie. They focused more on the effect, well, I guess the effect that Michael had on all the other people around him, where he like made them all go insane and that.
yeah, no, yeah, definitely. I guess, yeah, from that aspect, Michael was somewhat of the main character of Halloween Kills, because it was, as you just said, him interacting and what his events were causing to happen to the entire town, and not just certain people like Laurie and her family. So yeah, I totally agree. I do think that Halloween Kills, that may have been the one movie where Michael was actually technically the main character.
Yeah. I I'd also say But the TV show gone for like multiple seasons or something. Could it perhaps be not about Michael in particular, but they could maybe go back to the cult aspect which they had in some of the later movies, and then do a prequel, but about the person who was was like the avatar for the cult of Thor before Michael Myers.
Um, yeah, I mean that is technically something they could do. I mean, since they've already announced that it will be ignoring all those other sequels in the franchise, yes, they could do their own little reboot or remake of the Cult of Thorn, and show who the past Michael Myers was in a way before Michael, who had these supernatural powers. So, are you basically saying that you'd like to see a bit them explaining a bit more as to how Michael is what he is in this upcoming series? Is that kind of what you're wanting from it a little bit? Am I
Uh,
that?
I mean, I'd like some sort of explanation at some point that isn't just either he's just a psychopath, he's a loner, or he's just sad, or anything other than those three. I guess
Yeah.
like, but the explanation which they're giving those was just convoluted, and because I am, of course, a big love of the Saw franchise, I liked it a lot because it gave an explanation for why he kills, but also just didn't. Well, it did add a lot to it, the franchise, but it didn't add too much. I'd say it kind of just said this is why he kills. There's he's like a part of this bigger thing, but
Mm.
that is why he kills.
Yeah, they never really gave us a reason for Michael as to why he does what he does, but I guess a lot of people might say that that's the good thing about him. That makes him more creepy because to us, the viewers, he doesn't really have a reason. He just kills because he can. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, I guess in a way that is very creepy, like for someone not to really have a motive to kill and they just do it because they can, as I just said. Um, but yeah, I do see what you're saying, and I wouldn't mind having somewhat of an idea as to why he does what he does. But as to his supernatural powers, which he clearly has, so for people like David Gordon Green telling us that he's just a man, like no, he's not.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I hope that they don't go the same route as David Gordon Green and they try and tell us that he's just a man when he's been shot 6 times and walked away like it was nothing. So yeah, I guess I would love to see an origin story as to how he is what he is, but whether they'll give it to us, I don't know, especially in the series, but they could give it to us later on. Um, but yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But would I want to see it? Yes.
yeah. I guess something else which they could do is just not give us an explanation entirely and just kind of just do sort of Michael picks this random person and then they go to a different location or a different town. Like I guess he kind of hides like in their van or in their truck or in their car or something. Or like if they're moving, they have a moving van. Michael gets inside of that. And if they don't give us an explanation, they could kind of I don't know if Michael would ever speak in that show. They could do a similar thing to the strangers and just say because I saw you or something like that. Just like give us something just to like be creepy and add something cool into the show.
Yeah, I, I definitely wouldn't mind them taking Michael to a new location because I'm pretty sure, as far as I know, every single movie is taking place within the same town. Um, at least I think they have, right? Can you think of
I,
one where it hasn't?
everyone except for H2O because H2O was at like that school where Laurie was trying to like get away from Michael and all of that. So besides from H2O, I don't think there was anyone where Michael wasn't at Haddonfield.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess I do kind of like your idea then. Like, if some type of way, like if Michael snuck onto like a moving van or something, like anything like that, or if he somehow ended up on a train or something, like in a cargo train, and he just
Yeah,
hid in one of the cargo um containers or whatever, and he got out of Haddonfield. I'd like that. I mean, I know this might sound a bit weird, but I believe that they just did it with the Scream franchise in Scream 6.
Yeah,
Ghostface went to a city. He went to New York. And I think that would be great with someone like Michael, especially a city like New York City. There's a lot of places that a killer like Michael could hide in a massive city like that. Like there's a lot of shadows in the city. And obviously there's underground subways and stuff where Michael could kind of stay during the daytime and stuff, and he could come out at night, stuff like that. Anything, but I just love to see Michael in a city. I doubt they'll do it because it is kind of a big step from him just leaving Haddonfield to going to a massive city like New York or LA or something. But I just really like the idea of seeing him in a massive city. It just sounds, especially because he's pretty much unstoppable because he's supernatural. I'd love to see it.
yeah.
So
Well, I mean, technically, they could do that. Like Jason's been to New York before.
exactly.
Not that that movie was serious at all. That was much more of a comedy kind of movie than a proper Friday the 13th like movie. But if they did that, but with Halloween and less comedic, that would probably work really well. So I do kind of see what you're saying with the have him in a city, but if they would just have him like go to a different rural town, I think that'll be fine as long as it's just somewhere else than just Haddonfield.
Well, I mean, it depends because obviously, if they do this TV series, like either way, like if they do your idea of a prequel to the original movie and it takes place at Smith's Grove, then it would technically still take place in Haddonfield.
Yeah,
But if and it would still also take place at Haddonfield if they did my idea where it takes place immediately after the original. So I guess, yeah, I mean, I don't really know how they could make him leave. I mean, it's obviously not a reboot because they've already said it's going to connect to the original in some way. But yeah, I mean, maybe they could start it off in Haddonfield and then halfway through he manages to leave because he's following a new victim or something, like you said
yeah,
earlier. But yeah, other than that, I don't really see how they'd get him to leave Haddonfield because it's his home, isn't it? So it's where he does his killing.
true. I mean, the whole thing with him in the most recent trilogy is just, oh, he wants to go home. You know, he really likes the house for some reason.
Yeah,
I,
and
I,
then
I never understood that. He just loved that house. But
well, I mean, I didn't really understand it either, but I found it a bit interesting because it gave us somewhat of an idea as to why he does what he does. Like when it's Halloween, he goes out, he kills, which is his version of trick or treating, and then he goes home. That was pretty much it. Um, and I kind of liked that. There was something a bit interesting about that. But then for some reason they just completely got rid of that with Halloween Ends, saying that the house had been demolished and now he's living in the sewers. So that's just another reason that I don't like Halloween Ends. But yeah, in terms of him actually wanting to go home and he was actually protecting the house, like anyone who came into the house, he'd kill them. Yeah, I kind of like that. I think it was interesting. But yeah.
yeah, I mean, if if they were to do something like that, you could kind of say that because Michael like killed at a very young age, he's still sort of, I guess, traumatized from that, and the only proper memories that he has of him and his family in that home. So maybe he's just really attached to that home because it reminds him of when he was a kid.
Mm. Yeah, that could definitely be it. Who knows? And for some reason, he also felt the need to, like, when he stood at the window just looking at his reflection of himself, um, he specifically needed to do it in his sister's old bedroom, where he, of course,
Yeah,
made his first kill, his first victim. So yeah, I don't know why specifically it needed to be his sister's bedroom. I've always just thought, as I said, because it was the room where he killed his first victim, but I'm not entirely sure as to why it specifically needed to be that room. But yeah, I still found it interesting. I liked it.
yeah, it's definitely just a weird thing that they added into the franchise where Michael really likes his house, but if we're just going straight back to the original, he doesn't like his house anymore. Maybe you know, maybe
Well, I mean, are
it's
you
just
sure about that? I mean, because I'm sure in the original movie that they did say that he was when he came back to Haddonfield from Smith's Grove, God, I can't speak. He went to his house, and that's where he was staying when he wasn't stalking his potential victims. Um,
No, yeah, he
I
did go out to his house, didn't he? Yeah,
Yeah, so
that's very
he did
cool.
still kind of have somewhat of a connection to his house, and he still went back there. Yes, and as you just said, he obviously killed and ate that poor dog there as well. So, yeah, he's always had somewhat of a connection to that house, and I found that interesting. But I want them to go more into it. Like, why does he have such a connection? So
Maybe the TV show. I know you'll probably hate this because you despise Halloween. Maybe it'll be a Corey TV show. Yeah, I'm sure that'll be loved by fans. It will be a great idea. Everyone will love it.
um,
Spies on
I
your
mean,
face.
I've actually said that that's a possibility. I think I've made 1 or 2 YouTube videos about that, and whilst yes, there are a lot of people that didn't like the idea in the comments section, I never said that I liked the idea. I just said that it was merely a possibility. I want to make that very clear. But now, because they've said it's gonna, connect to the original movie, and it's connecting to some movies that they're planning on making as well. For that reason, I don't think it is going to be Corey's story. I mean, I'm hoping that they're not stupid enough to do that. So yeah.
That's so sad. Love Corey,
So
great guy. I'm, I'm so surprised that his actors recently got cast in something. Like I was so happy when I saw that because I was like, "Oh, Halloween Ends definitely killed his career." Then I just went
yeah.
on Twitter and saw him cast in something else. Good for him.
Well, yeah, good for him. But it's funny you mentioned that because recently I heard that apparently a starring actor from Halloween Ends has been hired for Scream 7,
Yes,
and now I'm getting
Judy.
worried. So yeah, I
I mean,
mean, Corey Cunningham ruined Halloween for me. Don't let him ruin Scream for me as well, please. So
alright, so, just to clear. So from what I've seen, it's not Rohan. Okay, you can breathe. But, it's Judy Greer, and she's playing a high school senior apparently.
thank God for that. I'd rather have anyone other. No offense to the actor, but I don't want Corey Cunningham ever near Scream or Halloween again, or anything else for that matter. Not Friday the 13th, not Chucky. Even though I've kind of lost interest in Chucky a little bit, I still don't want him touched by Corey. I'm not. I don't feel that bad about him. But yeah, Corey Cunningham had his run. He can be forgotten about now. No offense to the actor though, good actor. Hope he gets good work in the future, but never work in horror again. I'm sorry. So yeah.
I'm sure he can still work in horror. He just can't play Corey again.
He can do horror, just not any of the iconic franchises that they could say Corey Cunningham could ruin. So yeah.
Jesus. But yeah.
So
All right. So Corey's show is basically off the table now, sadly.
but me being an
maybe.
idiot, if me being an idiot, if they did do a Corey Cunningham series, I'd watch it, even though I don't like his character, just because like why not?
Watch
It's
out of spite.
content. So yeah.
You probably watch it out of spite just to be like, oh god, why did they make this?
Yeah, I probably would, but I know either way I'd watch it anyway. As much as I dislike the character and I hate everything that happened in Halloween Ends, if they did do a Corey Cunningham sequel series to that movie, I'd watch it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's Halloween related, and we haven't gotten a Halloween project now in 2 years now, so
2022 was the last one. So yeah,
yeah.
it's been a couple of years.
Well, I guess a year and like a few months, but still,
Yeah, no.
it's been a while.
Yeah, has indeed.
Maybe,
I'm ready for Michael again.
yeah, maybe if it is Michael, he'll get another sidekick, but not a bad sidekick. Maybe it'll be like Michael Myers finds another serial killer who doesn't speak.
I mean, that's something they could possibly do if they did the prequel option when it's set in Smith's Grove. They could say that he befriends another killer in there and they kind of do some stuff together. But once again, if they go that route, they've got to be careful with what they do because it's a prequel to the original movie. And anything that you do in that will affect the original movie, which fans may not be happy about. So, yeah, they've got to be extremely careful if they plan on doing a prequel. That's all I'll say about that.
Well, what if it's right? I'm just gonna go to the HCU aspect of this, the Halloween Cinematic Universe aspect of this.
They would have called it the MCU, you know, but that was taken. The Michael Cinematic Universe.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
The MMCU.
There you go. Then.
Universe. Maybe if the series, as we kind of said earlier, what if the series ends with Michael going to a new place or just hiding in the back of a van which is going somewhere, and like it ends with like a shot of it telling you where it's going, like I don't know, a city or something. But the actual show is like your idea. It takes up after the what's it called the
original
first movie.
Yeah.
Then ends teasing the first film in the cinematic universe. Then it will end with a tease for something else. I don't know, because if it's the cinematic universe, you're gonna have movies where Michael probably won't be in it. Like you could do, I don't know, Halloween 3 again, just something else. Because Michael will eventually get boring if they're gonna pump out movies with him in it.
Yes, that's exactly what I said earlier. I don't want them to overuse his character for that exact reason. I don't want to get bored of him. But as for your whole idea of the series ending in a way that sets up the movies or the cinematic universe, I think that's a great idea, and I think that's exactly what should happen, if anything. But then you've also got the question of how many seasons is this show going to be? If that's the plan, if it's supposed to end in a place where it sets up the movies, then that would mean that it has to be a 1-season miniseries, which I'm fine with. I don't want them to do multiple seasons and possibly mess it up. Because usually the shows that fail are the shows that like to go on for many, many seasons. So for that reason, I am someone who thinks, whilst I love the idea of a TV series, it should definitely just be a 1-season miniseries setting up the movies. So yeah, I think if it's a 1-season miniseries, then yes, they could definitely do your idea by having the ending setting up the movies. But if they don't plan on it being a miniseries and they say, oh, if it does well, we will do a season 2, then that ending, which would have technically set up the movies, they'll now say was a setup for season 2, which I don't want. So, yeah. But I do like your idea.
Yeah, well, just going back to the whole MMCU thing, if it's gonna just only have Michael as a killer, then as we said, that will get boring. But what if they introduce other Halloween killers? Like there are loads of serial killers out there that I guess they can make up killers for this. They can make up someone who wears a mask for murdering people in movies. Because I mean, you could ultimately have them cross over at some point and have them meet Freddy versus Jason style. So I don't know. Just do something else other than for a bit.
Well, I mean, who's the Miramax is the owners, right, of the rights, so they're the ones making the cinematic universe. Do they own any other iconic character like Freddy, Jason? Jason's a bit weird because I know those rights have kind of been split in half at the moment, but I know Chucky is owned by Universal, so.
Yeah, the thing about Miramax is they used to own Scream, but when their whole scandal happened, I'm pretty sure that they sold them off to highest bidder, which ended up being Spyglass. But let me see. Horror movies owned by Miramax. They own Hellraiser.
Well, Michael versus Pinhead would not really be much of a fight. Pinhead would destroy Michael in an instant. As much as I don't like that, it's true, because Pinhead has like many like super abilities that Michael doesn't, and he pretty much could just crush him using his head. So yeah. Yeah. Bit
I
of an
wouldn't
unfair
say
fight.
I wouldn't say that. As someone who has sadly been watching all the Hellraiser movies for reviews recently, they get worse, everyone. But in the second one, he is defeated and turned back into a human by a guy who I will not joke to you. Looks like he has a penis on his head, but this guy, Dr. Shinard, turns him and all the other Sunlights back into humans. So he is he does have a weakness, I guess. Powerful people, powerful beings. And Michael isn't human, as you said, as much as David Gordon Green will try to tell you that he's not human, he is something else. So I guess they could fight.
I mean, yeah, but it's not really the fight I'd want. I mean, if we were going to put Michael against anyone, I'd want it to be Freddy. Because Freddy, oh god, who am I talking about? No, Freddy's the one with the claws. I mean Jason. Yeah, Jason and Michael are pretty much the same character in different bodies. I mean, they just go around killing people for no particular reason. I mean, I guess you could say Jason has a reason, and it's like he can hear his mother's voice in his head telling him to do it or something. But Michael isn't too different. I mean, he just kills for whatever reason. We don't know the reason. So yeah, but my point is those two are probably the most similar out of all of them. So make those two fight. That would be an interesting fight. So
I mean, who else could he even fight? Because if, like, of course, Miramax owns the rights for them, but if it's Miramax is going to be making them, then they can only cross over with Hellraiser and Dracula, because they also own Dracula. But I don't want to see Michael Myers versus Dracula.
Yeah, I can't really see that fight.
Unless it's Nicolas Cage Dracula, because that would be fun, but that's owned by Universal. But so if they were going to do anything, I'd say they should like partner up with Universal again, and then maybe, because here's the reason, because Universal, their streaming service is where Crystal Lake is going. Peacock is where Crystal Lake is going. So there's some form of control over Jason at some point, I guess. So they're both getting shows. They could both go to the same streaming service. At some point, they could cross over.
Yeah, they could, but yeah, well, as I said, not really the fight I'm looking for. So, you know.
What Jason and Michael?
Oh God, I must have been spaced out for a second. Jason, yeah, Jason. Yeah, I keep on thinking Freddy is Jason for some reason. Yes, Jason versus Michael. I'd love for that to happen. And yes, as you just said, there are certain ways that they can do it, but I just don't think they ever will, because they kind of tried it already, didn't they? They tried it with Freddy versus Jason, and as far as I'm aware, that movie was not received well. So I don't know whether they'll ever bother trying it again, especially since, because they're obviously two different production companies, they can't earn all of the revenue for themselves. They'd have to split it, which they probably wouldn't really be happy about. So yeah, I don't really see them doing it anytime soon, unfortunately. But if someone was going to fight, I'd love it to be Jason and Michael. That's all I've got to say about that. I mean, sure, if you wanted to do Michael versus Freddy, go ahead and do it, but I'd rather have Jason. So,
well, just get into other things which you could cross over and fight with. This will eventually lead into a movie, and you know who's just been teased about getting a new movie?
Chucky. Yep, I heard the news. Chucky. I mean, Chucky versus Michael. I mean, I guess it could be an interesting fight. No idea how they do it. But yeah, I guess it would be an interesting fight. The only thing is, something I kind of see that's happened with Chucky recently, and you kind of touched upon this earlier when we were talking about Jason in Manhattan. And that's just like that they're turning these horror characters slightly into comedy movies in a way. Like you said, that movie was more funny than it was horror. And I believe that's kind of what's happening with Chucky at the moment, and that's sort of why I'm starting to lose interest, just because I feel like it's lost that horror aspect and it's going more into comedy, which I'm not really that into. So if they did do a Michael versus Chucky movie, whilst yes, it would be interesting, I feel like they just make it into a big, like, excuse my language, but piss take movie.
Yeah.
It wouldn't really be a serious movie. It would just be an opportunity for them to make fun of both the characters together. So yeah, that's what I see them doing anyway, because that's kind of what's been happening with Chucky over the last couple of years. But yeah, but would you want a Chucky versus Michael movie?
If the new Chucky movie, it's like Curse or Curse kind of Chucky, you know, like in Curse of Chucky, he's more serious, more creepy. It's kind of more gothic Chucky, in a way. If they did that versus Michael, I think that could work. But kind of had a bit of comedy, like you could have Chucky going, "Why the f is this tall dude like here?" or something like that.
Yeah, I just see them turning it into a comedy type thing, and that's not really something I'd be interested in. So yeah, that's my only worry if they did a Chucky versus Michael movie. But once again, like, because I want to see Michael versus Jason mostly out of anybody. When it comes down to Chucky, there is actually one other horror character that I'd want to see him fight, and you might be able to guess it, but it's Megan. I want to see Chucky fight Megan,
Yeah.
which is another slowly rising horror character. So yeah, I mean that's something I'd be interested in. But once again, you've got the problem of they're owned by two different production companies, so that's harder to do. Um, but it's not impossible. I mean, I believe Megan is owned by Universal,
So it's
and well,
both kind of owned by
are they
Universal because Chucky
are they
is
owned?
Chucky at the moment. He's kind of a wait, no, is owned by Universal. I remember now. I was watching literally Cult the other day, and the Universal logo was before it.
Yeah,
And the show is on Peacock, which is their streaming service. USA and Sci-Fi, of course, as well. But those are just TV channels, which I'm pretty sure are ultimately owned by NBC, which is
no, I'm pretty
Universal.
sure he is. I'm pretty sure he is still owned by Universal. But are Universal the ones to make Megan? I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
Blumhouse.
they are. Oh, Blumhouse, she said. Well,
Wait, well, I'm pretty sure they're one of the production companies of it, besides like Atomic Monster, which is James Wan, because he was involved in it. But let me look this up. I'm confused
yeah,
myself.
I'm a bit confused myself. I can't really talk about it without knowing what's what because I'm worried I'll get my information wrong. But
Who
yeah,
owns Chucky? MGM owns the original, and Don Mancini and Universal currently own Chucky besides the original movie. Megan is made by Megan Production Company. Was Blumhouse, which is Universal. So yeah.
okay, all right. Well, they could technically do it then if they wanted to, since they're both owned by Universal. So yeah, I don't know why they're not doing it. That would be awesome to see. So yeah, I mean, you also said that the original Chucky was owned by who? Sorry, who was that owned by?
MGM. So
MGM.
Mayor.
So MGM owns the original Chucky, and I believe they also own the rights to reboot Chucky, or also known as Robot Chucky. So
Yeah.
we could not only get a current Chucky versus Megan movie if they wanted to do that, but we could also get original Chucky, which is basically current Chucky but back in Child's Play. versus Robot Chucky, which I think would be awesome. So yeah, but I don't think they'll do it. But I don't know why they don't do these things when they can. It's so annoying. So
I think it's mainly because Don Mancini was against the remake of Child's Play.
I think a lot of the people were
so
against
were
it.
his cast members, and they've kind of built up like a family making all of those movies, and they're all very loyal to each other. And I
Yeah.
think they'd make that movie.
Well, as I said, Don Mancini doesn't own the original movie, so it wouldn't really be his choice. So, but then again, still though, I don't think they'd do it because they don't do stuff like that anymore. Seems like that time's kind of past. They don't like doing crossover movies anymore. So yeah.
Well, I mean, if Freddy vs. Jason was a success, we would have gone Freddy vs. Jason versus Ash, which would have been like Evil Dead, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Friday the 13th combined in one movie. But what would we have gone after that? Because if that was a huge success, then that was a huge success, we probably would have gotten Michael in there as well.
Yeah, so it does suck. But I mean, maybe it's for the best though, because I have spoken to a couple of fans of Michael Myers that have said like that they don't like the idea of Michael fighting another horror character such as Jason. Just because they feel like what I was talking about earlier, the opportunity to do stuff like that has kind of passed, and when they did try to do it, they kind of made it into a laugh stock. Like Freddy versus Jason, it's not really, it's not really horror type movie. It's more a comedy. I can't really remember anything in that movie that I actually found scary. So yeah, I can see why a lot of people don't want them to try and do that again, because they're worried the same thing will happen, but this time with Michael, who hasn't been touched by that comedy touch type thing yet. So yeah, I don't really blame them for not wanting it, to be honest with you. I think part of me doesn't want it, but most of me does want a Michael versus Jason movie. I just think it would be cool, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely be cool just to have a Michael Myers versus Jason Voorhees movie where they're both fighting out to see who's the better silent, tall guy in the mask.
Yeah, I mean,
zombie.
Yeah, well, yeah, Jason's pretty much a zombie, isn't he? But yeah, but I mean, in a way, it's kind of been done because like the fans of today, like a lot of them, obviously, well, I'm guessing most of them, they obviously work their own jobs, and some of them are lucky enough to get jobs that pay well, and then they've used that money that they've earned to go ahead and make their own fan films. And I think I've seen a couple of fan films that are called Michael versus Jason, and they're actually pretty good. They've got obviously not a massive budget, but they do a pretty good job, and they make the winner whoever they believe it is, and they give reason as to why they're the winner and stuff like that. So I mean, even if we never technically get it on the big screen, we've technically already had it from other fans for ages. So yeah, but I'd still love it though if they did do it, but I don't think they will, unfortunately.
Yeah, that film would be just amazing. I think it would probably actually be a success in the box office nowadays because crossover movies do kind of well nowadays.
I don't think it would do well in the box office if they did it right now, because the last Michael movie we had was obviously Halloween Ends, and that was terrible. So they need to kind of build up Michael again after that horrific accident of a movie. And Jason, he's obviously just been dormant since 2009, so they need to give him a couple of movies and remind people that he exists. So, yeah, before they can do any type of crossover movie. So I guess we'll have to wait and see with that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining me in this video today.
Yeah, no worries, man. Happy to be here.
Thank you for watching this video. Let us know in the comments if you guys have any ideas for what this TV show / MMCU is going to be, because it'll either be absolutely horrible or it'll be absolutely amazing, or somewhere in between. I'm hoping for the amazing side, just because we haven't
same
had
here.
In the Halloween franchise recently. But yeah, until next time, thank you for watching this video. Bye.
Bye.